Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy. Hi, folks. Yes, I am Kyla Gibbons. I am a customer success manager here with the Carnegie Learning team, and I'll be presenting Mathia Adventure to you folks today. I'm coming all the way from the east coast of Canada in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So you're catching me like right after dinner time. So I'm all energized from the meal that I ate. So you're getting me at a good time. I'm not hangry anymore. But I'd like to give you folks a very fast, quick whirlwind tour through this platform, both from the feature perspective, as well as tools for yourselves as administrators, tools for your teachers, and from the pedagogical standpoint as well. All right, let's get going. Here we are. Mathia Adventure, what is it? If I had to boil it all down, we are a K-6 supplemental game-based learning platform. We believe in students being actively involved in their math, being immersed within the experience to really teach them and assess them on why something is the answer rather than simply what it is. And looking at it from that perspective. So shifting over from, say, rote memorization into more of the conceptual understanding piece. There are a couple of pieces I want to clarify as to what is contained under this umbrella of Mathia Adventure. You're going to see things like Clear Math. Again, we're the Carnegie Learning team, so I want to just paint a picture for you. And then, of course, I'll walk through each of these individually. First, we have access to the Educator dashboard. So this is a teacher-facing tool. It's the same for everyone, K through 6. All teachers will have access to all content, K through 6. And they can kind of choose their own adventure and what's best suited for their students. Within this Educator dashboard, they're going to be able to see real-time data insights on their students' performance in the game-based learning experiences, which I'll show in just a second. They also have access to things like downloadable resources, literally hundreds and hundreds of an ever-growing library of downloadable assets that teachers can use in centers, teachers can use to be sent perhaps home, to be used for math talks. These are not worksheets. These are very creative, active learning, play-based learning activities for students. This is all contained in the Educator dashboard, and I'll kind of showcase some more of the features as we go through this presentation. The two other components that I want to touch on today are Zorbits Math Adventure. This is our student-facing game-based learning experience for students accessing the grades K-3 curriculum, as well as Mathstoria. So Mathstoria is our newest offering, currently still in development. Lots of work being done, lots of things being added from a curricular perspective as well as a feature perspective. And this is available for our students accessing the grades 4 to 6 curriculum. I'll break this down even further for you. All of our tools, the teacher dashboard, again, has a lot of those assets on there, those downloadable ones. But both student-facing games, Zorbits Math Adventure and Mathstoria, are accessible in the classroom as well as at home as well. So for any students who have, supportive adults at home that are looking for extra practice, they can certainly access this platform at home. No extra cost or anything like that. They use the same login information and they have that seamless transition between classroom and home. So let's look at the pieces. Let's start with Zorbits Math Adventure. Again, keeping in mind, this is the one that is available for students accessing the grades K-3 curriculum. Zorbits Math Adventure, we employ what we call a math-first game design. And if you can remember one thing about math-first game design and this whole platform, it is, we always say it's very cheesy, but the math is the fun is the math. They are one and the same. What that means is when a student is interacting in the digital environment, they're interacting with mathematical models and tools that they're using in the classroom. Things like 10 frames, number lines, place value representation, pattern and attribute blocks. These models are built directly into the tool, and that's what students are interacting with. They're not trying to achieve something else. They're trying to gain success and progress through the narrative through the math and by completing the math. Zorbits Math Adventure also has the principles of scaffolding and adaptive learning baked right on in. That means a number of things for different people. For us, it means that we meet a student where they're at and help guide them to where they want to go. And success looks different for every student. So we differentiate this automatically or adapt this automatically. Every student is provided with helpful hints, as well as immediate just-in-time feedback, usually in the form of visual cues. This is also fully narrated in English and in French for students, as well as captioning. For the students accessing it in French, teachers can choose a French immersion speed for the narration, which is actually a reduced speed to help students who are learning the language also learn what's being asked of them here. Students are going to go through with this adaptive learning, and I'm just going to kind of pan through a couple of these here so that you can see what happens as a student progresses. So perhaps, Zorbit is throwing these water balloons at these squids here to rehydrate the water park is the narrative in this particular area. As a student is gaining success and doing well, a couple of targets will be added in. Maybe Zorbit will move away from the origin. You can see we're flexing different skills here. What I do want to stress, though, is that if a student is struggling, they will not go through the levels chronologically 1, 2, 3, 4. It will adapt to where they're needed. And again, provide multiple tiers of feedback to provide them with success, whatever that looks like for them. We also want to support accelerating learners. So if we have those who are really excelling in a platform, in the game here, in the activity, we could get to a place where we're skip counting by 2s, skip counting by 5s, and even Zorbit is now moved away from the origin, and we're starting to scaffold in this particular activity between we're using a number line as a ruler because in the context of measurement, we're starting to really bridge some gaps here as well. So this scaffolding happens up through an activity as well as across with the different models. It's a whole lot to wrap your head around immediately here, but essentially we're meeting a student where they're at and helping guide them to where they're trying to go. All of this data on how a student is doing is returned back to the teacher as well, and that goes for the entirety of the platform K through 6. I'll take a moment here now to shift gears a little bit over into Mathstoria. Again, Mathstoria is that platform for students accessing the grades 4 to 6 curriculum. It is still undergoing development, but there's a ton of content in there right now, namely for number sense, operations, measurement, geometry, data management. Again, these things are being added to all of the time, but it is undergoing development, leading with a math-first game design. So I've just taken some captures of a few of the models currently available within Mathstoria, and you can see that students, the intent of the game is for students to interact with these models authentically. When they're interacting with them as well, we're not drilling one particular model or one particular strategy. We are looking at concepts. It's a very concept-driven learning experience. So if we have, let's say, representing whole numbers to 10,000, just as an example, in the question here, the one question might be on base 10 blocks, the next might be in place value counters, the next might be a number line. So we're allowing students to experience a number of different models all surrounding one concept. We also have within Mathstoria a number of global competencies baked in, things like environmental responsibility. We're trying to rejuvenate the environment using math. We are going into our quests. Math pops up almost immediately. We are accessing the math. We are doing the math questions, but we are balancing intrinsic and extrinsic motivators by then using the math that we have completed to rejuvenate the environment, as well as develop a sense of self and individuality in this grade 4 to 6 age group. Students are really developing a sense of self, and we want a number of cultural as well as racial diversities, as well as accessibility tools and equipment involved for students as well, and they're able to customize their character. We truly believe in if a student can see themselves reflected in the math in which they're completing, they are going to gain that confidence, and we're all about fostering that confidence among students. All right, so I just showed you a very, very quick sneak peek of the two student-facing platforms. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit over into some of the teacher tools. Again, I could go into much greater depth on these things, but I did just want to give you a high-level overview as to what to expect or what a teacher can expect when they're interacting with the dashboard. I had mentioned earlier that everything and anything that a student does in the digital facing environment is tracked and returned back to the teacher in the form of data. There are two different progress reports that are provided to teachers, one of which is a concept-driven progress report. This will show teachers how students are doing with, let's say, two-digit addition in this regard. You can also see a breakdown of how students are doing with a number of different strategies in mental math as another example. All of this is following a traffic light color coding, where green is when students are zooming through, not stopping for nothing. Yellow is what's indicative of a zone of proximal development. They're doing very well, they are succeeding, but there's a couple of things that are making them have to rethink strategy and reread the question or think about it a little bit longer, which is in that real sweet spot of engagement. And we have red when there's a potential learning gap that's been identified and it calls the attention to the teacher, to the educator to explore it a little bit more. This traffic light color coding is also reproduced in the second progress report. This one is now curricularly aligned. So looking at Alberta's new curriculum, how are students doing with the learning outcomes that are prescribed in the new curriculum? We can see you folks don't have curriculum codes anymore in Alberta's curriculum, but that's not to worry. We've provided these very arbitrary number coding system, things like 1, 2, 3. That means nothing to you or your teachers, and it doesn't have to. Wherever teachers see these codes of sorts pop up on their dashboard, all they simply have to do is click it to get an expanded view of the actual description of the learning outcome, and it shows them exactly how student progress is mapping to that. We'll touch on where these curriculum codes come up in a number of places in just a little bit as well. We also have within the platform the ability for teachers to turn on or off any content for any student. As I mentioned in the beginning, teachers have the ability, when they go to their dashboard, they have access to everything K through 6. If I'm teaching one class, I'm inevitably going to have some students that are ready for grade level content, but I will have some that require fundamentals from previous grades or extensions from further grades. And I have the ability using game controls to turn on or off any content in Zorbits Math Adventure or Mathstoria for those students. I can do it for the whole class or individual students. And you'll see it here with an example in Zorbits Math Adventure. This one particular student has access to everything in kindergarten, but the teacher decides that's not what's best for this student. So they unlock some things from kindergarten, some things from grade 1. Now on the teacher dashboard, we see things like grade labels of grade 1, 2, 3, and beyond. Students will never see any grade labels throughout the entirety of our platform. This is done to ensure that students are getting what's most appropriate for them, but they're not being labeled by the grade in which they're in, and they're feeling, goodness, I'm in grade 3, why am I working on grade 1? That is a hit to confidence. And again, we're all about building student agency and confidence. We also have the ability for teachers to send out intentional adventures or assignments to their students, using them as assessment tools, usually as formative assessments, but there's a number of different assessment tactics and strategies that teachers can use these assignments for. It's essentially when a student goes to their digital device, they know exactly what to do, and it's pairing with the teacher's curricular plan. These also have the curricular tags on them. As you can see, things like G1-1, G1-2, that means nothing. So we click to get an expanded view of the description of the learning outcome taken directly from Alberta's new curriculum. We also see these curriculum codes come up here in downloadable activities. This is our library of hundreds and hundreds of ever-growing, being added to on the daily activities that are very creative and play-based. These activities are PDFs in which teachers can download. They all have key questions. What do I ask my students and when? Things to support learners who are struggling and extend learning for those that need an extra challenge. We call this like differentiation on the fly because these aren't meant to reinvent an activity. They're simply meant to allow a teacher to navigate what success looks like for different students and provide tailored content very simply using these tools. I see Amy's comment there. It is like a hidden gem of the platform because yes, it is a digital platform, but we really embed all of this within our lesson plans and supporting our teachers, incorporating the offline activities in our centers or to be sent home and all of those types of things. These are pretty cool. They're also themed. I know I'm biased to them because I love them so much, but I really would love for you folks to check them out. They're pretty cool. Lots of things in there for students to do and engage with. In addition to this, specifically for Alberta as a tool for Alberta teachers, navigating the new curriculum for K-3 last year, and still, of course, we're getting used to it this year, and of course for 4 to 6, we've created internally that we share with our districts and our schools, a Alberta teacher guide to the downloadable resources. This goes through every single learning outcome in Alberta's curriculum from K to 6 and provides a sampling of 2 to 3 activities for teachers to use for each learning outcome to get started. There is at least 2 of these downloadable activities for every single learning outcome, most of which have many, many, many more. And this is a quick guide for them to go click, download, and off they go to their classrooms. Really great as a curriculum support tool. Speaking of that curriculum support tools, I just want to kind of round it all out with that curriculum piece, as I know it's at top of mind for most of us. I touched on the assignments, having the curriculum tags embedded, the classroom resources, having the curriculum tags embedded. We also have a search function for teachers to be able to type in directly the learning outcome. So let's say quantity to 1,000. They can type that in directly from Alberta's curriculum and then be provided with a list of digital and non-digital, those downloadable activities that they can use to navigate. So it's really a really useful curriculum tool that teachers can use as well. And of course, they show up here in the Progress tab as well. My friends, we are almost at the end of all of this, but I did just want to show you a few tools. I know many of the folks on the line here are administrators, school administrators, so I want to show you what's in it for you as well. Of course, your teachers and students will have access to all of this, but you yourself as a school administrator also have access to admin reports. Let me show you what those look like. School administrators and district administrators have access to a dashboard that looks like this. The only difference is that school administrators can see their teachers and their classrooms. District administrators can see their schools. So district admins can see schools, school admins can see teachers, teachers can see students. This dashboard comes with full reports, but I'll just kind of give you the highlights of what's there. We have teacher activation, who's actually logged into the thing, sometimes the biggest hump to get over. The student gameplay, how many students are using it? Maybe I'm really pushing digital tools in my school and I want to make sure that students are using it effectively and efficiently. I'm able to see that. I can also see how the teachers are using it. I really want them downloading those downloadable resources because I love them. I want teachers using them, or I want them using those intentional digital assignments. I can see how teachers are using them and if they're really maximizing their usage. And then, of course, I can see broadly student understanding. Same traffic light color coding, but how are students doing? Perhaps in grade 1, there's going to be support needed with number sense, for example. That allows me as an administrator to see that, to start conversations and perhaps provide a plan to target those particular areas that require additional support. That is it for me in all of the things that I had just shared with you. Now that you're sold on it, hopefully you think, wow, this is really awesome. I'd like to explore it some more. I'm going to turn it over to Subhash to talk about the ordering process and how you folks can get on board.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kyla. Yeah, I know we've sort of shared a lot of information today, and if anything of this resonates with you and you're potentially interested in terms of what the ordering process looks like, I'll just quickly run you through that. So if you could just go to the next screen. As mentioned, we've been working with Amy in the district to provide you guys special pricing. So the way it works is it's $14 per student license. And I should mention that this is for an annual subscription. In terms of teachers or administrators, there's no restriction on those number of teachers or administrators that can be added with each student license. I've just shared in the chat box, and your principals may have received the order form last month, but I've included that link again here. In the order form, we'll ask for basic information such as your school name, the primary contact and the email address, the number of student licenses you potentially require, the subscription start date, and the preferred method of payment. Once we've received a completed order form, someone from our customer experience team and I will be in touch. We'll be asking for a list of potential users in terms of the teachers and administrators, just to get everyone set up and registered in time before your subscription start date. And lastly, just in terms of, I guess, further information and additional assistance, if you have any additional information that we didn't cover in today's session, you wanted to dive deeper into the product, or maybe you had some questions about what the ordering process looks like, please feel free to reach out to myself, and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. So talking about that, I guess that sort of brings us to the end of today's presentations. At this point, we'll open it up to questions. And if anyone had any additional questions, please feel free to ask.
Perfect. I see one in the chat here from Allison. It says, when a student shows they understand a concept one day, but then forgets the concept the next day, will the program accommodate for that gain loss of information? Yes. So if a student completes an activity, let's say that squid activity that I was referring to earlier, if a student completes that today and does well, and we want to try it out with them again next week just to see how they've progressed, and perhaps we have other students we want to reassess as well. When a student goes into that again the next time, they will be provided with kind of a baseline type of activity where there's going to give them a question. They're going to answer. If they do it successfully, we'll continue to match them and move them on through. But if they decide, oh, today I'm not quite sure, I'm struggling a little bit and I need additional help, the program will automatically accommodate to that. So essentially, in a nutshell, every time a student goes and interacts with an activity, whether it's the first time or their 10th time, they have the ability to avail of that adaptive learning piece that's built right on in. Another question here says, do you recommend this for French immersion for kindergarten to grade 6? I absolutely do. We have a lot of districts right across the country that use this for French immersion. It is one of our larger use cases, to be quite honest. Folks looking for good French tools for their students for math. I'll mention again that for students accessing the K-3 game, Zorbits Math Adventure, presumably, those are the students who are learning French, perhaps for the first time as well. So we do have the narration, the ability for the teacher to turn the narration speed to French immersion, which is about 70% of French as a first language speed. So that one there allows students, still sounds very natural, allows them to understand the question that's being asked in French at a reduced speed to help with their literacy in French as well. That's provided in captioning as well as narration, English and French, as well as all the activities, English and French. That happens right up to grade 6. Any other questions, folks? Can you demo a game live? Like now, I can do that now if you want me to. You just give me a second, I'll pull it up here. Let's see, this is on the fly here, so bear with me if I have tech issues. Let's see. Let's log, I'm logging in as a student. One moment, folks. I'll show you this as well. Here we are in the teacher dashboard. If a teacher, myself, yourselves, are looking to demo a game live, we can go to our game guide, view Zorbits Math Adventure, find our activities, and I can pick one out, any of these here. I don't know. I don't know. I like all of these. Let's try this one. I can get a little bit of information as to what this activity looks like, how to play it. I can choose the variation. This one here is about subitizing. I can choose how or what skill I'm looking at, anchors of 5, 10 frames, or dice. Let's just do the dice and play the activity demo. You're probably not going to hear the sound come through, I don't think. Speaking of the free trial there as well, Subhash, you can certainly get these folks set up as well.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, to answer your question, Christine, yes, we do provide 2-week free trial access. And if you'd like trial access, again, you can contact myself directly, and I can organize that for yourself or any other teachers interested.
Perfect. All right, so here we are using the game. Let's see, I have my buzzing bees that are coming up. I can answer my question. Let's say I get it wrong. It's not quite right. Let's say I continue to get it incorrect. I've seen the visual cues of the answers that I've tried here. Let's get this one correct to move forward. I can get this one incorrect again. It's not quite sure what's happening. It's giving me a helping hand here now because it's noticing that I'm really struggling. It's providing me with, oh, okay, this one's the correct answer. This is to allow students to have success with the question that is being asked, but it doesn't get them stuck on a particular level and they're getting really frustrated. This activity is for grade 1-ish students, kindergarten 1 students. So we want to make sure that they're still keeping up their confidence. However, all of this information, even if I now click the correct answer, all of this information is being returned to my teacher dashboard as though it is a learning gap, if that makes some kind of sense to you there. There's some narration happening in the background here. I don't have my captions turned on, I apologize. But certainly Subhash has provided his contact there to get you a free trial or get you access to be set up, and you can actually get an immersive experience of this yourself, which is much better than me just kind of demoing it live here.
And just from our perspective, we would absolutely encourage that you connect for that free trial to really to play with it, essentially, to get to know the power of the tool and what the tool can really offer for you. So I thank everyone for that opportunity to actually access a free trial because it does make a difference to actually play and see. And I don't know if there are any more questions. I just want to make sure we honor everyone's time. I know, it's getting a little late over in Newfoundland as well. So if there are any other questions, this would be a great opportunity just to pop those in there. And I see we have some typing happening. I definitely want to thank both Kyla and Subhash for joining us today and allowing us to share this and record this so that we can share this with everyone. So please do feel free to share with your colleagues what you've learned today and what you've experienced and what you've explored with this particular digital tool as you engage in those free trials. And I know that, from our perspective, we're pretty excited about this particular tool and the possibility that it holds for some really rich, engaging, playful mathematics and really the opportunity to provide for differentiation for our students. It really does meet the needs of learners in a variety of ways. And that's very exciting and very powerful. So I do want to say thank you to both of you for joining us. And I'd like to thank everyone as well for joining us as well. And you can see in the chat that contact information is in there for that access. And definitely, as you are working with this, please feel free to connect with me. Your thoughts, your ideas, what you thought worked really well, and we'll go from there. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you very much for presenting this phenomenal tool for us as well.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks, everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. And hopefully everyone has a fantastic evening and drive safe this evening.